Okay, so having taped all the corners here, get out some fiberglass reinforcing tape, strapping tape, whatever you want to call it, and we're going to put a couple of layers of that across our motor here, or yeah, our motor, our firewall here, and that is because we do not want our motor coming off for any reason. And if things get hot for some reason, this is basically the last line of security you're going to have to hold the front of the airplane in place. And that's kind of an unwritten thing about hotliners, is they actually do have a habit of getting hot if you're not real careful. And much better to have one of the other heat-related failures rather than the structural one. So we'll continue wrapping this over, and as you notice I'm covering up all the holes. I'll go back later and unplug them. And then we'll do a couple vertical wraps here. Apologies for my angry son in the background. He thinks that bedtime is for losers. There we go. So we'll cut those holes loose later. One thing I do recommend you do is cut a couple of strips as well here. This is just my personal paranoia, but I don't want anything coming loose on my front end of my airplane. Just to clean things up a little more, we're just going to lay a bit of packing tape across. And that just gives us a nice finish. Now, if you're flying on rocky surfaces, I recommend running a lot of this packing tape down the fuselage on the bottom, because belly landings will eat this airplane alive if you're flying over a rough surface. And it is in fact true that a lot of people who fly hotliners and pylon racers actually do coat the undersides with vinyl tape to if they're having to land on hard surfaces regularly. So at all possible, land this plane on nice, clean grass, because that's what it wants. And there we go. And then cut your holes loose with a knife or whatever, and you're good to go on the front end assembly. So we have our wing panels laid out here, and what you first want to do is go ahead and bevel your ailerons. So I'm not going to do this on video other than to show you getting started with it. So go through like so. This also is probably a good time for you to take a bamboo skewer and score all those score lines. But what I'm going to do, fold my ailerons over, try not to damage this piece too badly. Don't run off with those. My wife's trying to steal my wing spars. Now, I'm not sure how it is I've dulled this razor blade so badly, because some of these things have gotten really crazy dull. So, anyway, the bottom line is, bevel the aileron, not the wing. And we'll be back after that's done. Alright, so we've got two wings here with everything beveled out. You may want a little more aileron travel, or flaperon travel than that. That's about good, right for your ailerons, but for your flaps you may want a little more. It's kind of up to you how much crow braking and whatnot you want to come in. And in the future I'll provide some advice on how far you want to go with that. So what you want to do is take this center panel section. It's got a little hole in it. This hole is for your servo wires that's on the bottom. And so we're going to line all this stuff up. Sorry, it's not on the... I may have that screwed up. So we'll come back to that here in a minute. I think I do have that screwed up. That's hilarious. So, yeah, we'll be back here. Oh, okay. Now I understand why. So that's an issue with how this was originally. Actually, no. We're correct. Sorry, I'm acting like an idiot on camera. I was like, this fit earlier. Why does it not fit now? So what we want is all this stuff to kind of line up here. So you can take this top or bottom. You may want to do both. I'm actually going to do both here, ultimately. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this guy over. Again, making sure I'm actually looking at this correctly. And there we go. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to tape this up so that we work towards making our wing all into one piece. And those of you who recognize this as merely a direct upscale of the Speed Demon will kind of recognize some of what I'm doing here. And so we'll do that. Now we're going to bring the second wing panel in here. And we're just going to repeat that same process with it. You're keeping everything lined up as you do this, which may prove a little difficult. It's not like it's small, easy to handle with one hand type of an airplane on a small table like mine. And try to avoid getting wrinkles, but if you're like me, you end up with wrinkles no matter what you do. Oh well. Sometimes you can come back, put a little tape up a little bit, because this is the nice waterproof foam board that lets you do that. Now your next step, of course, you have to pay very close attention to orientation, spar, score lines go on the bottom, all that jazz. But you want to go ahead and take these guys in as well. And so we got that one now. And now we come back and we'll do that on our last one. Again, make sure everything lines up. Spar score lines are down underneath. That's the inside of the wing. And there we go. Ginormous wing. I'm going to go ahead and split this score apart so you can get a look at the plan view again. It's kind of like that amount of enormity to it. So your bottom line is, back to that. You want to do this and then do your bevels on your leading edges. After that, we are going to, just to prepare you for where we're headed next, we'll go in here and we'll build up our wing spars on here, carbon and foam composite sort of, is we're going to build up the foam spars. We'll throw a couple of them on here, like so. This intersection and so on, and then we're going to lay some carbon spars, some serious carbon across the front of that. That's going to be your actual wing spar, and it's not going to be interrupted across here, so it'll come out like so. And that's going to provide you with the structural rigidity that you really need on this airplane. Because this foam, even if it was continuous across the center section, this is not going to support this airplane. So we'll get this leading edge beveled and then we'll come back. Okay, so for the next step, you see the wing is laid out here behind me. Get yourself like a .060 carbon rod like this. We're going to use this to reinforce the wing tips. So let me show you what I'm talking about. This area out here is a large portion that's going to be kind of unsupported. And under high G loads, this will tend to buckle right along here. And you don't want that at high speeds because you're going to crash a big, heavy airplane. So what I've got is this rod, and what I'm going to do is, I'll show you how I'm going to size this. What I'm basically going to do is run from the tip right here out to somewhere inboard of this servo pocket. And I'm going to just take a pair of wire clippers and snip that. Because what we're going to do is we're going to stick this down inside the wing. And you can do front and back or just one. I'm just going to do one because, you know, it'll provide pretty good stiffness as it is. And then all you're going to do is just use this to kind of let things down in there. I'm finding out that my laser did not completely cut through the top layer here. Still having some minor focusing issues with all of that, but let's try that. So in theory, at this point, we'll be able to actually let this down inside there. Try not to puncture through to the top surface of the wing, which is what I have done, and now I'll have some cleanup to do there. We can fix that with some packing tape though. But your main goal is get this spar down inside your wing, and we'll secure it with hot glue later. Like that. And if you do penetrate the top surface of the wing, I'll be right back in a minute. We're packing tape that up to just address that issue. Okay, so we've got the rod in on the other side as well, and just to show you my packing tape patch, it's right there, as you can see. And so, you know, if you mess anything up, that's a good solution to it. So the next thing we want to do is go ahead and close up these gaps so that we can have this wing be structurally okay. So what we'll do is just bring our hot glue gun to the party. Mine's being a little ornery. Everything's being ornery. Sorry, all you're seeing is me being stupid with hot glue. I'm actually going to go ahead and try and close up that portion of things. Not really working, but I'm actually going to additionally hit that with some packing tape. Just make sure it stays put. What I am doing is leaving gaps at key locations here just because I want packing tape across areas where we're going to be bonding stuff together. So, oh, I forgot. Just a little bit across there, to be sure. And then we'll repeat the same thing. Turn my wing around. As you notice, everything has started to stiffen up like it's supposed to. That side went shockingly easily by comparison. And hot glue gun tips are also hot. There we go. So the next thing you want to do is go ahead and do your bevel cut across here. Actually, we'll have to do a packing tape across that. Bottom line is back fold this across and do bevel cuts across here. I'll get mine started, but I'm not going to do all of this on camera because it's ridiculously huge. Teeth kind of popping back on me a little bit there. And there we go. So I'm going to do the top surface and then we'll be back. Alright, so we've got our bevels for the leading edge. Now is a good time to build up our wing spars. Now, one thing I'm going to suggest is it would be common sense to say, well, we're going to take our 4 spars here do that for however many it is, whatever. What I'm going to suggest that you do is that you stagger these. So, bring these across like so, put one at the end, and then come across to the same thing, just so that at the center section you have that much less discontinuity of the structure. So, this doesn't slide back over the servo pockets or anything stupid of that nature. Notice I did forget one thing, which was try and squirt some glue down in there. Having done that, so now at this point we can come back to this end and repeat the process. point also where I accept that my hot glue gun is woefully inadequate. Okay, and so that has your foam part of your spar built up. We'll be back in a minute to deal with the rest. Okay, so ordinarily you would use a, what is it, a 3/8 inch carbon tube for the spar. I don't have one on hand, so I'm using this thing that's actually only a little over 3/16 thick. So what that means is, in the place where I would normally have my spar in here, I need something to jack it up so it contacts the top surface. So what I've done is I've just cut out some scraps of foam here, and we're going to throw those in, and try not to unplug my hot glue gun while I'm doing so. And we can let this fairly secure into the bottom of the wing. If you notice, the spar I've got here does not extend the full length of the center section, and that's okay, because the primary G loads that we're concerned about are in the center section of the wing. That's why I'm just using scrap foam board here to do this anyway, if you can't tell. So, in the event that you're watching this and we have put a kit into production, obviously none of these issues will exist. But for you who scratch build, this is just kind of how I solved this particular problem. Because that's so narrow, I'm actually I'm worried about this region of the wing. I just want as much contact surface as possible for that spar. And then So with that, now lay this spar in place. My lovely bride will help hold down that end. We want this to firmly attach. So if you have somebody helping you, you definitely want to make use of that. So, and we'll be back here in just a second. Alright, so we have an 060 carbon rod. It's going to get laid into the leading edge here. I have grooved everything here to provide your bend points. Off camera we're going to squirt glue in all that and lather this up to close it up, just because I'm running out of recording space here and time. But we'll be back once we're ready to close it up. Alright, so for the top, we've already squirted glue into all the grooves, all the places where carbon fiber is going to go, all that jazz. And now I'm just desperately trying to squirt glue before it all cools and dries, hardens, whatever term you want to use. Stronger forearms because there's a grip on it all. Okay. No, get it all the way on the table. And now we wait. Alright, honey, on the spar. Later on there. And now we wait. And Caleb sits there telling me we're morons.
Yeah.
See, he even agrees. A lot of that's not sticking down like it should, but it'll hold alright. And we'll be back when we have more. More than one way to defeat it. So let's see if I have solved my problems here. So the issue was that we put this under here, and because I don't have a hot glue gun, the spar glue joints came loose. So now if I look down in there, looks like we've got a decent bond. And if I set this here, I'm not hearing too much flexure, so it should be good to go. This wing is going to flex some under load, just because of the amount of load that we're going to be placing on it. Oops. But now, all we have to do is close up the trailing edge, and so we'll get a secondary torsion box in here. So we've got the front kind of deboxed out, per any good flight test configured airplane, wing, whatever you want to call it. So now, all we have to do is come under here, squirt in the hot glue, and I recommend just doing this one wing panel at a time, because you'll get enough of the gap that you can squirt the glue in there and kind of get it done. And actually, the best way to do this, flip it over like this so that we can force the leading edge of the wing, and that's stay down against the table. And then you get to sit here for long periods looking like a complete moron. But that's not really much. Anyway, I'll be back in a minute. Alright, so we're looking good there, so we'll go ahead and we'll close up center section of the wing. leaves us. Gap right out here, so we'll nail it down and should all be good. So at this point you have a complete wing. It's fairly stiff, not too heavy. It should be strong enough to support all your flight loads. Check it for warps. I've got a little bit of twist in the left wing, should be survivable. And yeah, there we go. Now, one thing I do recommend, take a piece of plywood, and this is 1/16 ply, and kind of plunk it in right here. And this way you put that in there, your rubber bands will not cut into the trailing edge of the wing. There we go. Alright, so we brought the fuselage back in here, and what we're going to do is we're going to test fit for some bamboo skewer wing mounts to go in here. Just want to make sure we've got all the holes punched and lined up correctly. Popping sound you're hearing is me going through packing tape. And now some hot glue. Contacts. There we go. We'll break that. Alright, so at this point, we'll go ahead and we'll put that. If you're planning on pulling any serious G loads with this, I recommend replacing these with 1/8 inch carbon tubes, which is actually what I'm going to be doing. And I'll just show assembling this with regular materials, just so you flight test purists out there can enjoy seeing me do that, because I don't know why. One nice thing about all of this is the fuselage is big enough I stick my hands way up inside of everything as needed. So now we'll stick our wing in place, and this is where I realize that, hey, I should have gone and gotten some rubber bands for this step, because really we're wanting to test fit for fairings and whatnot. Alright, so I've got a bunch of rubber bands I've daisy chained together. And for this airplane, you don't want to cross the rubber bands over, because we're going to have some fairings on this airframe, and that kind of precludes that. My guess is that probably about the optimum is going to be 3 sets of rubber bands per side of this airplane. But kind of, use your judgment there. One other reason we want these rubber bands parallel instead of crisscross is I have no idea where that one vaporized off into interstellar space, but it did. Actually, I think that was the same one. Who knows? But anyway, that's for drag reduction as well. So here we've got the wing secured, and then at this point you can test fit for wing fairings and the like for a little bit of potential drag reduction. This plate you'll ultimately want to fair in with a little bit of packing tape just to remove that rough surface there. But at this point we can kind of start making arrangements to make sure we can fit those fairings on there correctly. So we'll be back in a minute. Hi, I'm Josh Finn. This is Hope. We are J&H Aerospace.
If you like this video, hit the like button.